What happens when the strongest surfer on Earth meets the one wave that won't let go? Imagine chasing the biggest thrill of your life, only for it to nearly end everything you've ever known. Billy Kemper, one of the toughest big wave surfers on the planet, stared death straight in the face on a remote coastline in Morocco. It happened in an instant. One wrong position, one monster wave, and one devastating crash that would tear his body apart. Billy Kemper didn't just wipe out, he heard his body snap underwater. Known for dominating the world's most dangerous breaks, from Jaws in Maui to Mavericks in California, Billy wasn't just good, he was legendary. His name was written into the very core of big wave surfing. But in February 2020, the ocean he loved almost became the ocean that ended him. How do you come back when your entire body and your entire identity is shattered in a single moment? Stay with us till the end, because Billy's story is not just about survival, it's about the kind of heart that refuses to quit, even when the world says it's over. Next up, we dive into Billy's roots and how the challenges he faced growing up helped forget the spirit that would later save his life. Before Billy Kemper became a world champion, he was just a kid growing up on the rugged shores of Maui, Hawaii, where surfing wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. Born into a family deeply tied to the ocean, Billy was paddling into waves before most kids even learned to ride a bike. But life wasn't all sunshine and surfboards. At a young age, Billy faced unimaginable heartbreak, losing his older brother, Eric Diaz, a local surf hero himself. That loss cut deep, and it carved a toughness into Billy's character that you can't fake. In a world where one wrong move could cost you everything, that mental edge became his secret weapon. Through pure grit and relentless drive, Billy climbed the ranks, turning heads on the North Shore. It wasn't long before he was claiming titles, winning 4 Piahi Challenge events and securing his spot as a big wave world champion. Every massive barrel, every split-second decision in critical surf, Billy carried his brother's spirit with him, pushing harder, charging bigger. But no amount of trophies could prepare him for the battle he was about to face. Riding on his 4th Jaws Big Wave Championship title, earned while simultaneously surfing among the world's best at the Pipeline Masters, and a win at the Sunset Open in early 2020, Kemper got on a plane and headed to Morocco for a massive series of Atlantic swells. Coming up, what really happened on that terrifying day in Morocco, and why it would become the fight of his life. The forecast was perfect. Safi Point in Morocco, a legendary fast, heavy right-hand wave, was firing like few had ever seen. For Billy Kemper and fellow surfers Koa Smith and Luke Davis, it was the kind of day they lived for. Perfect lines stacked to the horizon, endless opportunity, and unimaginable risk. The kind of once-in-a-lifetime session that big wave surfers like Billy, Koa, and Luke lived for. The waves stretched to the horizon, thick, powerful, roaring like freight trains. It was beautiful. It was deadly. Billy was on fire, stacking up flawless rides. Then came the wave, the one that changed everything. As Billy paddled in, the wave warped, thickened, a mutant wall of water rearing up from the Atlantic depths. As he took off, the wave jacked up, hollow and angry. It wasn't a clean ride. It was a beast. Billy made one small adjustment, and in the blink of an eye, the lip of the wave detonated right onto him. The impact was catastrophic. In a split second, Billy's pelvis snapped in half, ribs cracked like twigs. His lung collapsed, his knee was destroyed. The ocean tore through him like a rag doll, dragging him over the reef. He couldn't move, he couldn't breathe, and worst of all, he was trapped underwater in raging surf with no idea which way was up. When he finally surfaced, his body was wrecked. He couldn't move his legs. The pain was beyond anything he had ever imagined. On shore, Koa Smith watched in horror. Something was wrong. terribly wrong. Without thinking, Koa and Luke raced into the churning surf, dodging mountains of water, fighting to reach their friend before the ocean swallowed him for good. When they reached him, Billy was barely conscious, face twisted in pain, his body wrecked. There was no time to think. They dragged him out of the water, blood mixing with salt water, adrenaline the only thing keeping Billy from slipping away. And the nightmare wasn't over. A brutal journey awaited. Sketchy roads, primitive hospitals, and a race against time just to keep him breathing. He had survived the wave. Now, he had to survive everything else.
This one's for my mom, you guys. I love you, Mom.
If Billy's story has already hit you in the chest, hit that like button or drop your opinion in the comments. Subscribe if you believe in second chances. We've got more stories like this coming. Next, the brutal surgeries, the crushing setbacks, and the raw fight to rebuild a shattered body and a broken dream. The hospital in Morocco was a shock. Doctors scrambled, doing their best. But this wasn't the kind of place where you expected miracles. Billy Kemper lay there, broken in every sense of the word. His pelvis was shattered in multiple places. His ACL and MCL were torn to shreds, his ribs were crushed, and his lung was punctured. He couldn't walk. He could barely speak. He needed major surgeries. He needed them fast. With the help of close friends and emergency contacts, trying to get him back into the States as the COVID-19 pandemic shuts down the world, Billy was airlifted from Morocco to Spain and then back home to California. A grueling, painful journey where every bump, every landing felt like knives tearing through his body. The road ahead, brutal. Billy underwent multiple surgeries, each one trying to piece him back together like a human jigsaw puzzle. Physical therapy started early, and it wasn't gentle. Every session was a battle against pain so raw it would leave most people in tears.
This took
Pelvis surgery, pain management, basic physical therapy, hamstring grafts, knee surgeries, and 4 different stem cell transplants. He went from not being able to lift his leg an inch off the bed to 6 months of the most grueling work to rebuild his warrior physique. But the physical wounds weren't the only ones Billy had to heal. The mental war raged even harder. The fear, the doubt, the questions no one could answer. Would he ever surf again? Would he even walk normal again? Some days, even getting out of bed felt impossible. But Billy wasn't alone. His wife, his kids, his tight-knit surf community, they lifted him when he couldn't lift himself. He clung to a single belief. If I can survive that wave, I can survive this. And slowly, painfully, he started to move forward. But would it be enough to face the waves again? Up next, the return to the ocean, and the ultimate showdown with the place that almost killed him. Most people would have called it a career. Most would have accepted the miracle of survival and walked away. But Billy Kemper wasn't wired like most people. After months of surgeries, grueling rehab, and endless setbacks, there was still one demon he hadn't faced: the ocean itself, the very thing he loved, the very thing that almost destroyed him. His comeback wasn't just about surfing again. It was about staring down the fear that now lived deep inside him. Billy trained harder than ever before. Every lift, every sprint, every painful step was fueled by a single goal: get back into the water, prove that he could still stand tall against giants.
You can do so much work in a gym, you can do so much work in a pool, and you still are questioning everything about your feet standing on a surfboard. That's when those questions start to emerge to my medical team, my trainers, my doctors, my family. When can I surf again?
Finally, the day came. Billy paddled out in Hawaii, tentative, cautious, feeling the ocean's power ripple beneath him. And then, a set approached. I wasn't able to fully come through until I returned to what made me who I am. And that's surfing big waves, he says. There were so many boxes to check off, and I felt like the last thing to check off was a big box that said, Jaws. Could my body handle this mentally and physically?
When this storm presented itself is when I had to ask myself and be, more honest than I've ever been. Am I ready for this? Is it worth it? Is my body gonna handle? Is my mind in the right place? Is my family okay with it? Are my doctors okay?
So Billy called me and gave me a heads up that there was a swell coming to Jaws. I told him, I'm stoked for you, but I'd be more stoked if it was in 2 months from now. The biggest thing that I asked him, and I guess the most important thing that I asked him is, how do you feel mentally?
His heart hammered. His body screamed warnings, but he turned, he paddled, and he dropped into the wave, clean, powerful, controlled. The moment he stood up, it was like everything. The pain, the surgeries, the doubts, all vanished behind him. Billy wasn't just surfing, he was reclaiming his life. But one battle remained, the final test, Morocco. 2 years later, Billy returned to the very spot where it all happened. Standing on the beach, staring at Safi Point, the memory of that day hung heavy in the salt air. Was he ready to face it? There was only one way to find out. Next, Billy's return to Morocco, and how his biggest defeat became his greatest victory.
He's back! 2 years later, almost to the day. Pretty crazy. An accident happened, and that's part of dealing with Mother Nature. That's somewhat of the joy and the gamble and risk that we take. And obviously there's nerves and excitement, fear, all of that. But at the same time, it's like I came back here to get barreled and have fun with my friends.
When Billy Kemper stood once again at Safi Point, it wasn't just about finishing a ride. It was about closing a chapter of pain, fear, and survival. The same ocean that nearly took everything was now the stage for his ultimate comeback. Billy didn't just catch a wave. He attacked it, powerful, determined, fearless. After that day, it was the first moment where I was able to look ahead, Billy Kemper said. Friends who witnessed his return felt the power of the moment. Watching Billy drop into those waves again, it was emotional, said Koa Smith. He's not just a surfer, he's a warrior. Luke Davis added, that day, Billy wasn't just conquering the ocean, he was conquering every fear he had fought through in silence. But behind the cheers and the celebration, Billy carried a quiet heartbreak. His mother, Lisa Kemper, who had supported his dreams from day one, had passed away after a battle with cancer. She wasn't there to see him rise from the lowest point of his life. Still, every move he made was for her. Every wave he charged, every challenge he overcame, he carried her memory with him. I feel her with me every time I'm out there, Billy once said. She gave me the strength to keep fighting when I didn't have anything left.
Always went back to my brother. I've always went back to my mom. They're my roadmap of how I get through misery or how I get through pain. But that's not it. It's moving forward in life. I'll remember them forever. I am their legacy. I am living my life for my mom, for my brother.
Billy's story isn't just about surfing. It's about resilience, family, love, and proving that even when life knocks you down, you can always stand taller than ever before. Most people think big wave surfing is about muscle, bravery, or just being reckless. It's not. Surviving a monster wave, like the one that nearly ended Billy Kemper's life, is about something much deeper, mental warfare. When you're trapped underwater, spun like a rag doll, every instinct screams, panic. But if you panic, you die. Survival means mastering the one thing most people never control, your mind. Billy once said, underwater, In the dark, broken and bleeding, you have two choices: fight your fear or feed it. Big wave surfers train for that moment, holding their breath for minutes while their heart races, meditating while their bodies scream for air, visualizing survival even when survival feels impossible. It's not just strength, it's training your mind to stay calm when everything is telling you to quit. And that's why Billy didn't just survive a wave, he survived the war inside his own head and came back stronger. Thank you for watching. Life will knock you down, waves will break you, but what matters is how you rise. Don't let this story just pass by. Like it, share it, drop a comment about what you're fighting for, and hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started telling the world's most powerful true stories.